Hello and welcome to the Guardian Football Weekly. PSG finished the job at Anfield. Liverpool were okay, certainly better than last week. They had one golden opportunity in the first half and a bucket load of pressure in the second before Ousmane Dembele just decided to end the contest. The Alexander Isak experiment didn't work and the questions will continue over Arne Slot's future. In Madrid, Barca stormed back into it 2-0 up after 25 minutes and a glorious chance to go ahead before Charlton Athletic legend Ademola Lookman scored what turned out to be the decisive goal for Atleti. Arsenal are sporting a wait for them. We'll look ahead to that one and the Bayern Rail game as well. Also a massive win for Leeds at Old Trafford on Monday. Iraola's going to leave Bournemouth at the end of the season, and could Southampton catch Ipswich in the Championship? We'll do all that. There's the latest episode of Roy Hodgson in the Wild, your questions, and that's today's Guardian Football Weekly. On the panel today, Barry Glendenning, welcome.
Hi, Max.
How are the legs?
Much better, thank you. Yeah, I can negotiate stairs with a minimum of fuss now.
Excellent. Many congratulations. Lars Sivertson, hello.
Hi, Max. My legs are also fine.
And well, good. I'm pleased to hear it. And Mark Langdon from the Racing Post, how are you?
Yeah, no leg issues, Max. Yeah, I'm good.
Marvellous. Let's start then at Anfield. Liverpool 0, PSG 2. Since the start of last season, PSG have recorded Champions League wins over Man City, 3 times against Liverpool, Villa, Arsenal twice, Spurs, and twice against Chelsea. And Lars, Liverpool had moments here, didn't they, in this game? You know, that save from Safanov and the Marquinhos block in the first half, and then so much pressure in the second, but they just couldn't make it count.
Yeah, I know it's let's everyone jump up and down in Arne Slot's head season, but I do think Liverpool kind of played this well in terms of finding a balance between trying to create chances and not leaving themselves completely exposed for the pace that PSG bring on the counter. I mean, the outcome was what it was, but I thought they actually did reasonably well, and with a little bit of luck / sharper finishing, this could have gone in a different direction. I still think the final ball in the first half, like, they got into quite a lot of promising positions where there was a slightly loose pass or the timing wasn't quite right. I mean, it's clear that things aren't flowing for the team at the moment. But, you know, I thought this was a reasonable effort overall.
Yeah. And actually, Barry, I was quite, in that second half, just when Liverpool had the momentum, I was quite surprised at how shaky PSG looked compared to how just extraordinarily good they were last week.
Well, I think PSG approached this game differently, obviously because they're away from home. They had a 2-goal lead. I think if they had gone into this game with a 3-goal lead, which they probably should have or more, it would have been a completely different state of affairs at Anfield. But maybe PSG weren't quite sure what to do. I do think Liverpool are being massively overpraised for this performance. They were absolutely dismal in Paris, so anything better than that was obviously going to be impressive. But I think they played really badly in Paris and lost 2-0. They played quite well at Anfield and lost 2-0. PSG never really looked in much trouble. To me, they seem to hold them at arm's length, kind of that big brother thing where little brother is swinging punches and you're just have your hand on his forehead, keeping him at arm's length. Ultimately, PSG got the job done, I would say, with a minimum of fuss. Liverpool were awarded a penalty and it was, I think, correctly overturned, despite what Mark Clattenburg had to say on Amazon. He was adamant it wouldn't be, and then it was. As soon as PSG got their goal, that was it, game over. So while Liverpool were okay, I do think they're getting more praise for this performance than they deserve.
Do you, Mark, want to praise them more than Barry wants you to praise them?
I'd be more on the Barry side than the Lars in terms of how much praise Liverpool should get, because I do think that PSG was kind of playing the tie, and game state, 2-0 up, you're at Anfield. I think the natural thing there is to sit back and allow some pressure. And Dembele had an amazing chance in that first half that I think he should have scored as well. So PSG maybe just in that second half forgot to attack and did spend too long just allowing that pressure. But they always looked very comfortable to me. A couple of sort of standout players that probably don't get the praise for PSG. Probably the the two players that are spoken about least in that PSG team. But first of all, Safanov, the goalkeeper, who did play well, and I think really from like losing Donnarumma was a big one, and I felt that might cost them in the latter stages of the Champions League. We're now at the latter stages of the Champions League, and he's played a very solid game. He's displaced Chevalier in goal, who had a bit of a disaster really when he came in. And the other one is William Pacho, the centre back, who was at the kind of heart at that disputed penalty, which I didn't think was a penalty. McAllister put his leg there and sort of tried to initiate a foul, but I thought he was fantastic at the heart of that defence. If you look at Ecuador, they concede so few goals, and him and Hincapié of Arsenal, of Arsenal. So they've got two very good defenders actually. Ecuador, it's this talent farm called Independiente del Valle, and it's just producing like so many players like a ridiculous rate, and he's just one of those that's really coming through. So I thought he was fantastic, and Marquinhos alongside him as well. But if you're 2-0 down and you're chasing, I think sometimes it's easier to look better than you actually are, if that makes sense.
Presumably, Antonio Valencia is playing right back for Ecuador in the World Cup.
No, he's a really young team. Like even down to obviously got Caicedo in there. They might end up being like one of the dark horses of the World Cup.
How exciting!
Got players. I mean, I think Borussia Dortmund have signed a teenager. Chelsea have got one that's on loan in Argentina. Arsenal are signing two twins as well that I think are coming over next year. So it's definitely a talent factory to watch out for.
All right, Lars, what did you make of the Alexander Isak experiment?
That sounds like a sort of
a terrible film in the Bourne franchise.
I was going to sound like an underwhelming jazz band, but that's could also be...
yeah, but it works both ways.
Yeah, it could also be true. I mean, he's not 100% there, is he? I've been very much in a World Cup frame of mind the last couple of weeks because I got kind of carried away during the international break. And I think the Swedes will be hoping that Isak finds something because it seems like he's not fully there. Speaking of World Cup, worried about Ekitike. I mean, we haven't heard anything yet on what that was, but that didn't look very good.
Dr. Barry is saying no World Cup for him.
Dr. Baz says
fair enough.
Yeah.
That's my prognosis, but hopefully I'm wrong.
Yeah, maybe I'm thinking about what you guys are saying. Am I overpraising Liverpool? It's possible that the bar has been set so low now because they have been quite dreadful in a couple of games, and maybe I was just thinking they're just going to get done here, and perhaps I will concede the point. It's possible that, but I do also think like if we're talking about how well the PSG keeper played, then Liverpool have actually managed to put some pressure on them at least. I'm not sure there's that much more to say about the game. I thought Liverpool are lost to a better team, and we're better than the first leg, but not good enough.
I would say, Lars, though, the Liverpool signings, I know have been spoken about a lot, but like that was a game where you would need one of them to step up, and the difference from Frimpong on that right hand side to the quality that Trent Alexander-Arnold consistently puts in, the drop off there is sizable. Wirtz just doesn't impact the game enough, and I want him to be better than he is. One of those that championed him when he first came, but season now really, and he's cost 100 million. He's just not impacting enough games, and that was the moment where you did want him to pick a pass or to you mentioned like earlier on about the final ball not being quite there. That would have been kind of what you would be hoping for from him. And Isak has had a really disrupted season. I'd be less critical of him, but I think it was a strange decision to start him given his lack of fitness, and then you've got the Salah drop-off as well, where he looks like he's forgotten how to play football. He's so average. It's frightening, really, just how much he has fallen off in the last few months. And some of that will be confidence, but it happened to De Bruyne, didn't it? There was this moment with Man City where he was everywhere for City, and he felt like the key player. And then within about a month or 2 months, suddenly he's just like, he's no longer even in their starting 11, and you can just, I suppose, the wheels can just come off once you reach a certain age.
I guess it's a good example of why handing out really big contracts to players past 30 is kind of scary, because it just sometimes happens quite quickly, like you say. And at least in here, they've reached a conclusion that I guess suits everyone, is that they don't have to fulfill the full terms of that deal, and he can go somewhere else in summer.
Mark, you mentioned Safanov there. He made 9 saves, so that is, I suppose, a good reflection on Liverpool. But what happened to Chevalier? Because he was brilliant last season in the Champions League. That's the only time I saw him play. But
he made some high profile errors early on. Even if you like, I think it was his debut in the Super Cup, and he was very shaky when they beat Tottenham on penalties, and that continued into the kind of season proper. And I'd got a PSG fan who's a friend at work, and he absolutely hates him and was demanding that he get out of the club. And I said, "Calm down, Thibaut. He'll get better." And he's like, "No, he's not good enough for PSG." So once you move to a bigger club and you make a couple of mistakes, there's a mentality point to, some people are able to shrug that off and grow and recover from it. And, some people, the spotlight in France obviously is on PSG all the time, and it's difficult to handle, I think, if you make mistakes. Zabanier, the centre-back they bought from Bournemouth, would be another one that made some mistakes and just doesn't look anything like the player that we all saw in the Premier League.
I think with Chevalier, like, it's always hard to be the guy who comes after the guy. Like, you're replacing Donnarumma, who was really good in the Champions League last season, and his departure was a bit of an odd one. I think that was not an entirely uncontroversial decision by the club, especially in terms of how the fans and the media will have viewed it. So, yeah.
Yeah, I suppose you can take over from a podcasting legend and actually grow the thing if you just need the right... Anyway, can we talk about Arne Slot's future, Baz? I think I've been so burnt by Tottenham that I sort of think this idea of just sacking a manager like Slot or even Arteta, I think the Arteta one is mad. Like, there's no guarantee you become 5 or 10% better. There's a big chance you might just get worse. But how good does Liverpool have to finish this season for Slot to be there next year?
I have no insider knowledge, and it's just a personal opinion, but I suspect the Liverpool hierarchy have probably already decided what Slot's future is, and I suspect it will be elsewhere. I will be very surprised if he's still in charge at the start of next season. I'm not saying that's what Liverpool should do, but I think that is what they will do. I'd be inclined to hang on to him. I think what he did last season was brilliant. I think certain revisionists are saying, it wasn't down to him, it was Jurgen Klopp's team. But I would imagine the Liverpool higher-ups have already decided what they're going to do, and that will be to get rid of him.
Where do people think Slot's next job would be if he does leave Liverpool? Because I can't work out if he's any good or not. And I know he's won a title, but I was just thinking, like, I don't see him going to another kind of like one of the super clubs or kind of one of those that's in the Champions League last 8. I really I struggle to work out if he's at the level required. And there's the caveat, he did win a Premier League title, but like riding on Barry's point where he was kind of batting away, there are definitely people that feel that was just, Klopp had built that team and he took advantage of what was a really bad Premier League season from others.
So with Slot, the first half of the season, there's a lot of things going on. There's the shock from the very tragic death of Diogo Jota that you've spoken about many times, Max, is something that we probably should add more to the equation of this season for Liverpool than we do. There is Trent Alexander leaving, a player who was very integral to how they would build up the play before, a very important part of how they created attacks. And you have the Mo Salah drop-off happening. So there's clearly a lot of stuff going on that, for me, gives them maybe not a total free pass for the first half of the season, but you can understand why they went on that losing run. And Yeah. But what you're looking for in the second half of the season for me is sort of, okay, this team is going to be different now. It's not going to be Trent Alexander-Arnold pinging balls up to Mo Salah anymore. Clearly, it's going to have to morph into a different group, and you want to see these new signings find their place. You want to see a system and a way of playing emerge that gives you a sense that, okay, moving forward, Slot is onto something here, is creating something that makes us think we can fight for the title next season. I don't think we've seen that in the second half of the season, and they look really undercooked physically. Like, there's been a lot of games where they just seem weak compared to, as I wonder if the physical preparation hasn't been right. So I've got a lot of question marks about, I'm not convinced, and I wouldn't be shocked at all if they move on from him in the summer.
The effect of the death of Diogo Jota is totally unquantifiable. But what is quantifiable is the fact that it seriously, massively disrupted Liverpool's pre-season preparations. And I think that would have a hugely detrimental effect on any team. We're seeing it as well with Chelsea, who didn't really have a pre-season. That's not entirely the reason. I think they're a circus at the moment, but I think it's a massive contributory factor.
Yeah, I completely agree. I mean, I guess the point is there somebody waiting? And Xabi Alonso is free, Mark. I think we've discussed it before, but that's the issue for Slot, I guess. If Xabi Alonso was doing well at Real Madrid, then this is a different conversation, probably.
Yeah, it feels like a natural replacement. Like Alonso was burnt at Real Madrid, but he won't be the only coach that's done that, and he would be better suited, I think, to a club that wants to be coached and have actual tactics rather than kind of vibes. So the fans, not all of them, but there was a section last week singing Alonso's name as they were like leaving the stadium. Videos circulating that. That's not to say that all fans want Slot to go. We always kind of just you see a video like that and you just label everyone as feeling the same. But it feels like the end of Slot's time, I would say, at Liverpool, and Alonso would be the obvious person to come in. We'll get on to Iraola later. I think he would do a fantastic job there. But it sounds like he's maybe going back to Spain.
And the only other question is the Mo Salah drop-off a better or worse jazz band than the Alexander Isak experiment? But anyway, maybe they could both headline the same festival. That'll do for part one. Part two, we'll look back on a brilliant game between Atleti and Barça. Welcome to part two of the Guardian Football Weekly. So Atleti 2, Barça 1. Atleti through 3-2 on aggregate. They'll play their first semi-final then since 2017. In both the finals that they reached, 2014 and 2016, they beat Barça along the way before losing to Real Madrid in the final. Could happen, unlikely to happen, but could happen. This, Barry, was great, wasn't it, this game, especially the first half?
Thoroughly enjoyable game. I think there was one pass from Lamine Yamal with the outside of his left foot cross to Ferran Torres, who headed straight at Juan Musso. I think that's one of the greatest passes I've ever seen. It was just sensational. No backlift. He just seemed to stab the ball with the outside of his left foot, curled this inch-perfect cross to Lopez or Torres, and wonderful. But love this game. I thought Barcelona were going to do it, but as you said in your intro, it was ultimately settled by Charlton Athletic's Ademola Lookman.
Yeah. Look, we'll get to Lookman. I think you're right. That Lopez chance, it feels like such a turning point, Mark, doesn't it? I mean, it is an amazing cross. I'm glad Barry put that as the first point of this game because it's so beautiful. And he's got to score. And I guess maybe if he scores, then he doesn't have his face kicked in at the same time and the whole game is different.
Yeah, that first, half an hour from Barcelona was breathtaking, really, because even in the first minute, they nearly scored through Lamine Yamal. And you do have to almost be perfect. When you're chasing a 2-0 deficit away from home, you need you need to just make the most of those opportunities. And they didn't. I felt that sort of that first half from Barcelona was everything that you would want to see from kind of Hansi Flick's point of view, in terms of he gets criticised for the way that they defend, and I think that did cost them over the course of the two games. But the advantage to playing like that is that you win the ball back really high and you get Lamine Yamal in dangerous positions, and Ferran Torres and Fermin Lopez and Dani Olmo. Just the movement of them is difficult to handle, and it was a magnificent performance. But in that first half, I felt like Atleti got to grips with it more as the match wore on, until they panicked late on. But the first 30 minutes of this game was just brilliant, and I did the scenes of Diego Simeone. He does it every time, but telling everyone to calm down while running around like a lunatic is he would just never be beaten for irony. And he would have. I would like to see his distance covered, because he may well have kind of reached the levels of Cancelo or something like that.
Yeah, you're right. I mean, that Olmo pass to Torres was beautiful as well. Look, the Lookman story is really fascinating, Lars, isn't it? Because he had a great season at Charlton. He breaks onto the scene at Everton. And then it doesn't really... He's at Leipzig and he has loans at Fulham and Leicester. And, to go from that, which is, a perfectly creditable Premier League career, to knocking Barca out of the Champions League is brilliant.
Yeah, and with a long period of being very, very good for Atalanta, scoring a hat-trick in the Europa League final and just being part of their sort of brilliant sort of development the last few years. No, it's great for him. He's a very, very good player. And also a good mid-season transfer, a new good January transfer. I think he's really added something to Atleti after coming in there. We've touched on it already. I don't think it's possible to get away from the flick line, the modern Maginot line here, because it has cost them again. It is the Lookman goal comes from a ball in behind. The red card for Eric Garcia comes from a ball in behind, and it does remind me of when Wilson wrote a piece a few years ago about how Guardiola's City had this sort of exhaust port. They're like the Death Star in Star Wars. There is this hidden weakness in there. Now, the big difference is, of course, the exhaust port of the Death Star was a big secret, whereas with the flick line, everyone knows about it. And I think as Sid spoke about, like last week, we had this discussion. Every single person, like, we know about it. Every analyst on the planet will tell their team, listen, they defend with a very high line. We should try to get in behind. But they have won 26 out of 31 games in the league. So clearly it's not just about, they've the high line. We turn up and behind the high line. Like, it's really, really difficult to do. But you still can't get away from the fact that over the course of 2 legs, they got 2 players sent off from that way. And it was the ball from Griezmann for the first goal was just beautiful. Like that such a
well, do you know what? It's
ball.
interesting you say that. I was thinking it's actually not that hard a pass to play because of the high line. Like, it's obviously brilliant, but like, it's not like, you're looking at the Olmo pass to Torres, which has to be absolutely inch perfect. I think he's got leeway to, like, he can underhit or overhit that pass, and it's brilliant, but I think it's so achievable because of the high line.
And this is where I actually wanted to say this last week, but we moved on for time, I think. I wonder if, because as Sid very rightly said, it's not just about the line, it's about your ability to put pressure on the man in possession all the time. I wonder if you're slightly vulnerable in these Champions League quarter and semi-finals, because you get to the stage where you're playing the best teams you're going to come up against all year. And you have a lot of games in your legs. Your midfield has been chasing all season. And you get to March, April, and that's when they get the hardest. I wonder if that is a flaw in playing like that every single game of the year. And I also wonder if you need a faster centre half in there. You could do with a Mickey van de Ven character who can just eat up the ground when you do occasionally get caught. I think that would get them out of jail.
I'm not sure anyone needs that at the moment. But anyway, Mark?
Yeah, that point there Lars makes about the fatigue factor coming into this stage of the season. Obviously, PSG play usually at a very high tempo, and I think Luis Enrique, I don't want to get into the kind of Farmers League debate about Ligue 1, but I think Luis Enrique has built a team now that is able to play at sort of peak performance for like 2 months or 3 months of the season. And it coincides with the matches that are the most important. We saw it last year where PSG didn't seem that bothered about the first half of the campaign and came alive second half of the season. They've done it again. They're able to postpone matches at weekends to give themselves full preparation for Champions League games, which is something that just isn't afforded to other leagues. And that kind of Barcelona have been involved in a quite tight title race. They've had injuries, so there is potentially something in that what Lars is saying, just about that freshness. And I think Bayern, because they're so dominant in the Bundesliga, they're able to not risk Harry Kane at the moment. He's not always playing in the league games because he's been just carrying a slight injury. Whereas if maybe he's playing in a league where the title is much closer, say he's playing up front for Arsenal, like you'd have to play him because the 3 points are just absolutely massive. I've just realised the thought of Harry Kane playing for Arsenal and it sickened me. But you know what I mean.
I was going to say, it's going to get worse for Spurs in part 3 when we talk about the Leeds game. We don't need to make it worse now. Barry, there was a moment where Llorente pushes Dani Olmo over, and like the commentators I had were like, well, there's not enough in that. And you have completely converted me to what I already believed in your anti-shove agenda. He's just pushed him over. It's like a penalty. It's like, I don't understand why people being pushed over is not seen as a free kick more often.
Well, I mean, it's a drum I've been banging for quite a long time. If you push someone with sufficient force to knock them over, then there's enough of a push. But a lot of proper football men appear to disagree. I mean, we'll get to the hair pull on Dominic Calvert-Lewin, a totally different kind of offence, but that sparked loads of debate, which I don't understand at all either. I wanted to ask Lars, actually, you referenced the exhaust port on the Death Star. That was famously left unprotected due to arrogance on the part of the Empire. Do you think it's arrogance on the part of Hansi Flick that he refuses to do anything about this glaring weakness in his side?
I just think he believes in his methods and will point to the fact that they won La Liga last year and are almost certainly going to do it again this year. And I'm sure if Flick was in the room with us now, he would say they've been unlucky with refereeing decisions over the 2 legs. I'm not sure I would fully agree with that, but it comes down to margins. I wonder if they, and I think if he was with us right now and was being very honest, I think he would say I wanted another centre half or two, because I do think playing that way with poor old Eric Garcia, who's not a bad player, but he's not the quickest. It's not entirely ideal. And there was something about this tie sort of turning on Eric Garcia trying to chase down Alex Sørloth, also not the fastest player in the world. That was almost a little bit, almost a bit of a parody, I thought.
In the post-match of Star Wars, did Darth Vader say, look, we won the Empire last season, so, and we'll probably win it next season. So,
They did build the Death Star again. I mean, that's the true thing. They did build the exact same thing again. Still with some sort of, here they could fly into the exhaust port. They didn't need to drop a weapon in there. They could fly all the way through. So maybe the key is to do the exact same thing again, just with an even bigger exhaust port.
They're sending off, actually, and that seemed less of a push than the one on Olmo. But anyway, I think it probably is a red card. Now, Arsenal Sporting tonight. Obviously, a lot of you will be listening to this after that game has happened. But Mikel Arteta spoke of, he said, fire. I'm on fire. That's it. Nothing else. I'm dreaming so much. I've done so much to be in this position because I know how this club was. I've done so much that this is beauty. I just see beauty, opportunity. I want to get it done for all the people that have been on this journey with us because they deserve it, because they've been unbelievable. That's what has driven me every single day. I have zero fear. Fear I had when, if we don't get this done, this club, I don't know where it's going. That was fear. Now there's no fear. It's just purpose, fire, direction, and conviction that we're going to do it. It sounds like one of those motivational reels that, I can't stop myself from watching. But what do you make of this? He's got to say something, Mark, I guess.
If it goes wrong, it will be one of the kind of the memes for the season, the kind of fire reference. A bit like Simeone, where he's telling everyone else to calm down and then is kind of not calm himself. It feels like Arteta is kind of doing the same thing, really, where he's trying to calm everybody down, but he's probably panicking them even more. The best thing you could say at the moment is, we are the Premier League title favourites. We're top of the league. We've got a decent advantage. We're in the Champions League quarterfinals. We've won away from home. They've if they get through, they've got Atlético in the semis. Again, they will expect to beat Atlético. Like, this could still be like the great, or I suppose the Invincibles, but it could be, you know, the greatest or the second great season in Arsenal's history. They're very close to achieving it. I think he needs to calm down. I would sort of urge everyone sort of in the stadium to calm down a bit and enjoy this moment.
He should say that instead of singing fire.
Well, I mean, there is a chance of reverse memeing this, of turning this into like if Arsenal do go on to win the league and or the Champions League, they should definitely make that song part of their thing. But have you guys ever played like computer games where you have dialogue options? And if you press one button, your character says this thing. If you press
Secret of Monkey Island on the Amiga.
Yeah, if you press a different button.
Yes.
So here Arteta found himself in a position where, like, option A was to say, we're in a really good position in the league, like, I really believe in my boys. Option B was to say, I am on fire. I mean, I probably would have gone with option A on balance.
Anyway, Declan Rice might miss it because he missed training on Tuesday. Don't know. Saka or Timber could return, but, you know, these things we will find in the fullness of time and talk about tomorrow. How do you see Bayern Real Madrid, Lars?
Fun. I really hope Bayern go through, because I think if Bayern PSG in the next round would be just absolutely hilarious. Here's the thing about it. They've got the lead, but they're not, I think, capable of sitting back and protecting the lead. I mean, you would think having a 2-1 lead from the first leg, you'd go into this playing a little bit safe, trying to soak up some pressure and hitting Real Madrid on counter. I don't think Bayern can or will do that. I think they're going to go out and attack, which, given that Real Madrid has Vinicius Jr. and Mbappe up front, that leaving space for that, I mean, this could be exciting. This should be the expected fun, Max, is sky high for this fixture.
All right. Well, we will talk about it tomorrow on the pod. Archie with us, and who else do I reckon? I'm going to say Johnny Lou. It's Johnny Lou. I know it is. Okay. Anyway, that'll do for part 2. Part 3 will begin with Leeds win at Old Trafford. Welcome to part 3 of the Guardian Football Weekly. So Manchester United won, Leeds 2 on Monday night. Absolutely enormous win for Leeds. Now, there are 3 Spurs fans on this panel. An absolute disaster for them. But this is not about that, Barry. People were saying, you know, Leeds are the side to be worried about, but they're now 6 points clear of the relegation zone. I mean, that's 2 wins, and I think that might be enough. I don't know, Baz.
They're 6 points clear of the relegation zone, and they got Wolves at home, I think, next. Mm-hmm. So you would imagine, given their home form and given how poor Wolves were against West Ham, despite their little mini revival, that they will be 9 points clear of the relegation zone after that, which should be enough. I must say, I didn't see this coming, but I thought they thoroughly deserved to win. I know Michael Carrick was very upset after the game about the red card shown to Lisandro Martinez, but Man U were already 2-0 down after that. They pulled a goal back. They did have chances to get an equaliser, but I think some very resolute defending and good goalkeeping by Carl Darlow earned Leeds 3 points they deserved. And they've drawn games they should have won this season. Maybe this draw might have been fair here, but I think they've earned the luck or any luck they had in this game.
You just did a quick count. I think that's just 4 defeats in the last 23 in all comps for Leeds. Now, there's too many draws in there, yes, but the points are ticking in. I was definitely not one of the people who thought Leeds were the one to look out for in the relegation battle, I have to say. I thought the sort of mid-season formation change that they... I mean, since they switched that 3 at the back, they've been pretty solid, and they're really physically punchy, and they could do with being sharper up front sometimes, but they're not a bad team. I think they were always going to get the points. Maybe I didn't expect them to get 3 at Old Trafford, but I think they're good.
Never won a Premier League game at Old Trafford until this one. Their last win there was 1981, apart from an FA Cup one, wasn't it? Jermaine Beckford, if I remember correctly. And Michael Carrick on that red card. It's not aggressive. There's no jolt, no tug on the finer points of hair pulling. We have to be careful where the game is going. It's a shocking decision, absolutely shocking. The red card, that is really concerning. I know he touched his hair. There's a difference to really aggressively touching it. It makes it sound like he stroked his hair in a loving way, Mark.
Yeah, I mean, out of context, Carrick might become a thing after that. I don't like to have a go at referees anyway, because it's pretty pointless. But when the best team wins, and Leeds were the better team and fully deserved the win, even less kind of aggrieved at kind of controversial decisions because just play better. At the same time, I don't think that should be a red card. I don't feel like every time it's stupid saying, but like if you touch somebody's hair, I don't think it has to be a red card if there's a slight if there's a slight tug on the hair, because to me it looked like Lisandro Martinez was trying to grab the shirt, which is a kind of natural thing that in that position when the ball goes up in the air, the attacker grabs the defender grabs the attacker, and it felt like the red card was not the right outcome for sort of that collision. I can't even think of sort of a better phrase of saying it, but Leeds were the better team and they deserve to win, and that's why I just don't get too angry about these things.
I'm just thinking, can De Zerbi get Richarlison or Solanke to grow their hair in a quick enough space of time?
It was funny the decision made by a completely bald referee. I did enjoy that moment.
Maybe this could cause a return of the mullet in terms of the fact, because everyone wants to, like, an accidental hair tug, red card. So everyone should just get it a little bit long at the back in case that happens.
Marginal gains. Some of the Hall of Fame, Robert Huth getting a retrospective 3-game ban for putting Maro and Fellaini's hair, of course. Cucurella has been on the end of many. Jack Stevens, João Neves, Christian Romero, although Romero got away with it somehow.
The Huth Fellaini triggered another great example of Man United managers talking about hair pulls, because that's when Louis van Gaal said that you're only allowed in sex masochism, and that's very not once but twice you've had a tremendously confusing non-context Man United manager quotes on hair pulling now. So that's a very big fan of that.
I'm slightly bored of I didn't have that on my bingo card, but I certainly didn't have Louis van Gaal talking about sex masochism on my
one of the great moments of the Clearly, there's been some directive this year to referees that any kind of hair pulling, zero tolerance, just get the red card out. And I feel like a Premier League defender should know that. We had quite a high-profile case with Michael Keane not that long ago, and everyone talked about it, and there was a whole debate. And I do think if you're a Premier League defender now who gets paid very well to do that job, you should go into the game knowing I'm actually not allowed to pull someone's hair. I need to make an effort to not do that. And you don't need to agree with it to just there's a bunch of things we can't say on the radio. You don't always agree with all of those things, but it's part of your job to know what they are. So I don't have a lot of sympathy for Martinez. I have gone many weeks of my life without pulling someo's hair. It's really easy. You shouldn't be a difficult thing to get through the day without pulling someone's hair.
Yeah, I understand that, but you are presumably you're not that close to Dominic Calvert-Lewin in a sort of physical battle for most parts of your day. You spent less time doing that with long-haired target men. I don't know. Maybe Ian Marshall you're constantly wrestling with Ian Marshall. Who knows?
Well, there have been some developments in my personal life recently, Max. I mean, we don't talk that much off the pod anymore, so there might be stuff going on that you're not aware of.
The Aussie game writes, very Spurs-heavy panel. Will they stay up? Yes or no? So Leeds have 36. Forest 33, West Ham 32, Spurs 30. Baz mentioned Leeds playing Wolves, where Forest are home to Burnley as well. What a terrible weekend it is, Mark.
I feel like they've got a better chance than everybody that I keep hearing saying that they're down, it's over. Like I spend most of my, unlike Lars who spends his days sort of wrestling with Ian Marshall, I spend most of my day sort of probability, stats, that is my sort of bread and butter. And like the chances of Tottenham going down, layman's terms, are pretty much 50-50. And yeah, I don't sense that from people who are predicting the kind of the bottom three. And so I feel like they've got a better chance than like the kind of general vibe around the club. And this is really simplistic. They just need to win a game, because I think if they win one game, I think you will see a different team. But it's getting that one win, which hasn't happened now for well over 100 days in terms of the Premier League, because they've got Wolves next week. So if they were to beat Brighton, you suddenly go into that Wolves game thinking completely differently. But until they get the win, it's really hard to see it. And like the players there's a lot of people to blame for what's happened. But ultimately now, like the players just need to play better. And it is quite, football can be quite a simple game at times. And I think it is probably about 50-50 between them and West Ham. Maybe Forest could still get dragged into it. And I did agree with Lars. Leeds were never on my kind of radar as being the ones to catch anyway. It's West Ham that Tottenham need to catch. They've got Crystal Palace away on Monday and have got probably harder fixtures than Tottenham over the rest of the season.
I feel energised again, Mark. Thank you.
Sorry, I
yes.
now have the image of naked Lars and naked Ian Marshall wrestling on a hearth rug, was slathered up in goose grease in my head, and it's going to take me a long time to shake it.
Okay.
Well, if you can focus, if you can try your best to tear yourself away from that thought. Andone Iraola is going to leave Bournemouth at the end of the season. He's been there since 2023 after coming from Rayo Vallecano. Sid was right when we were all wrong when he started very badly. Has played some brilliant football with Bournemouth. They have, consistently sold players. This season being a classic case in point. They sold pretty much their entire back line. He will have a lot of clubs to choose from. But you imagine Lars, Athletic Bilbao will be where he will end up?
It's possible. I'm sure he'll manage them at some point. I wonder if the right time for that is now. I mean, that's obviously going to have a very strong appeal to him because it's his club, really. But I suspect they'll always be there for him. It's one of those jobs that I think he can get further down the line at some point if he wants, whereas he has put himself in a window now. Because there is an element of this sort of flavour of the montism to manager appointments. And he very much is it. Like, there's going to be some vacancies this summer. There's going to be some pretty high-profile vacancies, I would imagine, that he might be in with a shout for. I mean, we didn't have the broader Carrick discussion at Man United, but I don't think it's a done deal that he gets that job permanently. I think Iraola would be a very exciting appointment for them, for instance. I think Newcastle have a big Eddie Howe-shaped decision to make this summer. Certainly, in terms of resources, that would be there would be more room. He wouldn't lose his best players quite so often up there. Even Liverpool, if that becomes available and Xabi Alonso wants to do something else. When managers do well with a quote-unquote smaller club, it doesn't always scale up. But I think if you look at Iraola, the way he plays, the way he sets his team up, they're so proactive, they play on the front foot. It's easy to imagine if you just put even better players into that system, it would really work. So I think he's going to be super attractive to the bigger clubs.
I mean, it's interesting actually, Baz, isn't it? The number of jobs. You could have a position where Arsenal, Liverpool, Chelsea, Newcastle are all, and Manchester United are all open in the summer.
Yeah, and I think Iraola could take his pick of them probably.
And Man City, actually. City as well, possibly.
Yeah. I have a feeling Pep might leave at the end of the season. But, I think Iraola could walk into any of those jobs. I wouldn't be surprised if he was offered any of them. The only thing is, Bournemouth, they've drawn 15 games this season. But as you say, he had his, half his team sold out from under him last season, just got on with it. I cannot imagine a fan of any of the clubs you've mentioned being annoyed if he got the job. I can't imagine them being anything other than delighted and excited. He may well go to Athletic Bilbao because, as Lars said, that is his club. That's where his heart is.
Yeah, I think you're probably right. Matt says, since the end of January, Southampton have won 14, drawn twice, and lost 0, including FA Cup wins over Arsenal, away win at Coventry, decent shout at automatic promotion to the Premier League. All this on the back of a terrible start to the season. This is the biggest in-season turnaround ever, he asks. And it is extraordinary. They hammered Blackburn 3-0 on the same night that Ipswich lost at Portsmouth. So now Southampton are up to 4th, 72 points. Ipswich have 75 from 41. So it's still in their hands. But what they have managed to do is absolutely extraordinary. At the bottom of the Championship, that win for Portsmouth puts them on to 48 points. So they're not out of it, but they're on the same points now as Blackburn. But Portsmouth have a game in hand. Charlton on 49 could still be dragged into it. West Brom have 46, Oxford 44, Leicester 41, Sheffield Wednesday already down. Yes, Mark?
So Southampton have still got to play Ipswich as well at home, so big chance to kind of, that 6-pointer there. And Ipswich have got Middlesbrough this weekend as well, so again the opportunity potentially to drop points. So it's definitely not all over for Southampton in that automatic race. The fact is, though, they've got this semi-final to play as well. It's just the amount of games they've got might be something that just catches up with them when you've just got to win every weekend and midweek. But they're the form team in the country right now.
West Brom are in a bit of trouble. They could receive a points deduction after the season has finished as they contest charges of breaching the EFL's PSR rules. Matt Hughes writing in The Guardian last night. The EFL is running out of time to hear the charges, which relate to an alleged breach of the £39 million loss limit in the 3-year period culminating 24-25. The guidelines state any punishment must be applied in the campaign after it took place, which in West Brom's case means this season. And as I said, they've got 46 points, so they are 21st and 2 points above the relegation zone. It doesn't give a cut-off point, so it's unclear when the season ends exactly. So anyway, it's a bit of a shambles, but they might be in trouble. In League One, Bolton beat Stevenage 5-1, so their cements their playoff spot. Stevenage are still in a pretty good spot because they are in 6th on 67 points. Cardiff drew, and so they have to wait a little bit longer before getting promoted, but they're pretty much there. Rotherham relegated. Somebody sent a stat. They get promoted or relegated almost every season, Rotherham, right? So at least it's fun. They lost 3-0 to Wigan. Wigan 8 points clear of the relegation zone. Port Vale drew 0-0, which means they're off the foot of the table, but they're already relegated. In League Two, Ryan Boot saved a stoppage time penalty for Chesterfield, so they held on to a 2-1 win over Grimsby and keeps them in the final playoff place. And a big win at the bottom for Barrow, who beat Oldham. They're in the relegation zone, but just a point behind Newport. And Colchester won 2-1 at home to Accrington. John Terry was in attendance amid reports that he might be involved with a consortium planning to take over the club. Manager Danny Cowley refused to talk about John Terry, saying, "I will talk about Frankie," that's John Terry's nephew, because he was great tonight and he would have done the family proud. I presume he plays for Colchester. Otherwise, it'd be an odd thing to say, wouldn't it? England's Lionesses beat Spain, which is a massive win in their World Cup qualifier at Wembley. Lauren Hemp scoring after 3 minutes. Bit of sort of dribbling on the line from the Spanish defender. Sort of Gordon Strachan in the Charity Shield, but not quite as bad. The Guardian Women's Football Weekly for full reports on that. And Thomas writes, "Hi Max and the gang, I wanted to share my joy at just spotting Roy Hodgson in Bedminster Asda in Bristol. I was walking down the main aisle and double took the older, refined-looking gent walking towards me. It was him. He had the wondering what aisle something was in look on his face. I walked onto the bread aisle, then briefly saw him again before he darted down an aisle on the phone. I was paying for my shopping at the self-service tills, half regretting my mix of politeness and lack of confidence for not saying hello, when I saw him again, this time paying for his shopping at a self-service till, this time with a woman, who I would assume was his wife. For info, the only product I saw them scanning was one of those big 6-pack 2-litre bottles of mineral water. What a legend. All the best, Tom." Thank you, Tom. We will continue to take Roy Hodgson spottings in the West Country and in Bristol, of course. Chris says it has to be asked, what did Mark have for Easter dinner? Mark?
I was very sick at Easter, Max. So on Easter Day was probably the darkest of the kind of Easter period. So I had I think one slice of toast with very little,
Oh dear.
with a criminally sort of low amount of butter as well. But I was told to have it without butter, and I couldn't do that. But it was marginal scraping.
What was
So
this? Was this both ends ill, Mark?
it was, yes, it was.
Okay.
A tough
Such an
time.
identifying position.
It's we might have to have another Easter another time, because it is. I always find it underrated time of the year. In many ways, better than Christmas, but not this year. Apologies for bringing the low brownness there, but.
Don't worry. It's what everybody wants. Finally, Zeaton says the Irish humanitarian holy trinity of St. Bob, St. Bono and St. Barry. This is why I listen to the Guardian Football Weekly. The only thing that could have made it any better would have been Barry also getting a vasectomy whilst running the half marathon. And that's my Guardian Football Weekly. Thank you, Zeaton.
Really, of all the men in the world who need to get vasectomies, I'm really very low on the list. I can assure you that.
You're living your very own vasectomy life, and that's fine.
My
Anyway,
life is one big fucking vasectomy.
That'll do for today. Thanks, everybody. Thank you, Lars.
Thank you, Max.
Thanks, Mark.
Thanks, Max.
Thanks, Barry.
Fire!
Football Weekly is produced by Tayo Papula. Our executive producer that probably explains that moment why you're living the life you are.